Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do an oil change on an air-cooled Volkswagen. So let's get started. Now when doing an oil change, there's obviously a few things you're going to need. You're going to need some oil, a pan to put the old oil in, some tools, and some filters, or a strainer, depending on your setup. Let's flip around to the table and see what I've got. Now here we are at the table of things you're going to need. Obviously I don't have like an oil drain pan or a jack up here, but this is basically what you'll need to get the job done. Now first off, doing an oil change, you'll obviously need some oil. Now, what oil to use is a really big topic of controversy. Volkswagen, in their owner's manual, recommends straight 30 for all weather use in warmer climates and summertime use. And from there, they recommend 10, 20 weight for colder climates and so forth. Now, instead of a conventional oil filter, unless yours has been modified, Volkswagens use a strainer, and it's very much like a general strainer you would think of you'd have in your kitchen, only smaller and inside the engine. And when you do an oil change, you have to pull that out, clean it with something, mineral spirits, brake clean, and then you put some new gaskets and new washers on it. Now, I've got a couple sets of gaskets here because I keep a few around. This one is from O'Reilly. It's a Felpro gasket kit. Obviously, it's got the gaskets, which are paper, and then these copper washers. This is a set from Napa. This is paper, copper washers, and it's made in Germany. Now, generally, I use O'Reilly stuff most of the time, as you can see with my oil, but I'm probably going to use this here just because it's made in Germany. Now, something to make sure of, make sure these are actually copper. You want these to crush, and if they're copper-plated steel, these washers, they're not going to crush too good. So you want to check that. But generally, they're going to be fine. Now you're going to need some wrenches. This is a 10 millimeter. All along the bottom of the oil strainer plate, there's going to be 10 millimeter nuts. Now I believe in 1973, they got rid of a center plug, which would have been this 21 millimeter. You would have used this to drain the oil, then remove the 10s to clean the strainer. However, not too many people were cleaning the strainer and were just changing oil, which you need to do. You think of the strainer as a filter. You do it every oil change. So Volkswagen got rid of the center drain plug and only put the 10s around the outside, which guaranteed that strainer came out and you would probably clean it. Now, if you want to put in an aftermarket center drain plate, I believe they're available. Probably could even get it at a local auto parts store. If you ordered it, I wouldn't expect it to be in stock though. Now that should be everything you need, except for an oil pan and a jack stand to get your oil changed. So let's get the bug out of the garage. Now for this oil change, I plan on putting the car up on ramps, or backing it on rather. However, if you don't plan on doing that, and you want to use a jack and jack stand, please do not use your original jacking points. Even if you've just replaced them with the floor pans, they're not safe, they're not structural, not a good choice. What you want to do is jack up the car right here under the spring plate, and when you put the jack stands in, put them under that tube right there. Now that's going to ensure that the car is safe, it's sturdy, and you're not going to damage anything. So let's get this up on those ramps. Now an oil change is a time where even I'll be wearing a pair of gloves. So obviously you get your drain pan set up under the drain plug, get your socket, put it on there, and loosen it up. This one came off pretty easily. And just like that, you'll see there's one of those washers. Now we let this drain, remove all these tens around the outside, and we'll see how our strainer looks. Now these 10mm nuts are not something to play with. You do not use power tools to remove them. You do not use power tools to put them on. The torque spec on these is extremely low. I think it's in the inch-pounds range. So, you basically just put them on hand tight. Oh, we'll see, this one came out as a stud, which is interesting. I'm keeping the pan under here just in case any excess extra engine oil, because the car's at an angle almost, just in case any comes out when we remove this. Now we're going to remove this, trying not to flex it any. And there we go. There's that extra oil that I was worried about. Sludgy. So this is one of the reasons we do oil changes, even if the oil looks good and we haven't driven the car any hard. This has been replaced. I can tell because it says Brazil on it. Oh, what's that? That's a thing. Very interesting. I don't know what that is. Pretty sure I didn't want to find it in my oil. But we'll get this cleaned up and put back in. You're going to make sure you get all this paper gasket material off. If you got to use a scraper, you use a scraper. Careful not to get any inside the engine though, obviously. Now here we are at the bench. We're going to get this stuff cleaned up. Now, I've got some brake clean and I've got some lacquer thinner. Two very strong solvents. And the reason we're using solvents is because this is oil and, you know, want to clean it up. Could also use an ultrasonic cleaner probably. And I'm just going to wipe all this off. Now, this might seem a bit tedious compared to a regular oil change. That's because it is, and that's why a lot of guys put on a external oil filter. Now that strainer, as you can see, like I said, it's basically like a kitchen strainer. We're going to spray both of these parts with brake clean, the strainer mainly. Now you can also replace that strainer altogether. Every oil change is not exactly expensive. I believe they're about $10 a pop. And now we're ready to get this thing back on the car. So now it is time to get this back on the car. So the first step, you're gonna get one of your gaskets and you're gonna try and put it on. Might fall off. If it does fall off, well, yeah, if it does fall off, you can put it on the strainer itself. My car conveniently has a few that actually stayed in, so I'm able to hold it on there. Then we're going to take this strainer and put it on. Next up, another paper filter, or gaskets rather, sorry. That goes on. And and then your base plate. I'm going to put one of these copper washers on. I did check with a magnet. It didn't seem to stick. And I'm going to thread it in here. Nice and gentle. If there's any hesitation, it's coming back out. Now, when you tighten these, do not go around in a circle, and probably do not do what I just did here and let it fall down like that. You want to try your best to not warp this cover plate, which means you do a star pattern. And like I said, you do not tighten these ridiculously. These get tightened to hand tight and you call it a day. Or a little over. Not even, I don't even want to say that. I don't even want to say a little over hand tight. Now you're just going to start tightening them up. And I'll call that good. Now we take the center drain plug. You see this one's got a flat, looks like a steel, this looks like one of those copper coated steel ones. This one in the Ultram kit is round. So that's interesting. I'm sure this actually does have a torque spec, this one. So I'll look that up in the Bentley, possibly. I know Type 4 motors, it's extremely low. I'm going to do that one to there. It looks like the center bolt is supposed to be torqued to 25 foot-pounds, the outer one's to 5 foot-pounds. However, the center bolt, the general consensus is that tight is good, and if it's leaking, tighten it up just a bit more. The outer ones, though, definitely don't want to over torque those. Now this is where you fill the Volkswagen Beetle with oil. You remove this cap here and pour the oil in. Now a bug takes 2.5 liters, or just around 2.65 quarts. I got 3 quarts. Now you can buy oil by the 4 or 5 quart, I believe, but this is easier for me. Now these are roughly 1 liter a bottle. These are 946 milliliters. So we know automatically we have to put 2 of these in, which is pretty easy. Now if it is easier for you, like I'm gonna do, just remove that. They do make an aftermarket thing, I believe, to make filling this easier. Of course, I spilled a little. 1. Now you could also use a funnel. And we're just not going to mind any of that oil that I'm spilling. Now, we've got our basically 2 liters in. Now we're at that half liter mark. So, 946 and 946, 1.8, 1.92. We're gonna put 600 milliliters in. That'll be roughly where it needs to be, and then we'll check the oil after it's been run. This would be a good time to have a funnel. That's roughly where we need to be. Of course, it's pouring oil everywhere because I can only know how to make messes. We'll put the breather back on. And let me get under there just to make sure it's not leaking. Definitely not pouring out. If it is seeping, it's very standard for a Volkswagen. So now let's run it and check it. I'm gonna wipe some of this oil up first though. Let's start her up. I don't see any large pools of oil on the ground, so let's check the oil. Just to the bottom line. Could be because it's on an angle though. So we're gonna get it off these ramps and check it again. So let's give it a check here on level ground. There we go. I don't know if it's focusing well, but it's just about right. I'm gonna call that good. So, like I think I said in the beginning, pretty simple. Definitely different than a modern oil change, being there's no filter and you have to clean stuff and you have to put all these gaskets on. But it's definitely something you can do yourself, something you can easily do with parts from the local parts store. Like I said, both of those kits were gotten at local parts stores. Just went in and said, I need these kits, we can have them tomorrow. That's normally what they say. But pretty easy. The oil, the biggest problem with an oil change on the Bug is what oil you're going to use. And you're just going to have to decide for yourself if you're going to do what Volkswagen says, or if what this guy on Facebook says, or if this Samba, or what this guy that's had 30 years of experience says, that kind of thing. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope you were able to easily follow along, because that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to make an easy to follow tutorial on how to change the oil in a Volkswagen, because it seems simple, but you might not have never done it before, and you want to watch a video first, or you want a tutorial that isn't the Bentley manual or something like that. You want someone videoing. I know I learn better seeing videos instead of reading. So I hope this was able to help you. If it did, make sure to leave a comment, because I like reading those, especially the ones where people say, hey, I was able to use this, or that was pretty helpful, or I liked this part, that kind of thing. I love reading that. If you're new around here and you liked what you saw, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate all the subscribers. I like seeing the comments from subscribers. I like seeing recurring comments from people that I've seen them around on the videos, and they're always there. It makes me happy to see that there's people that are constantly watching the videos and are always there. So I like seeing that kind of stuff. So like I said, if you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a comment, and hopefully I'll have some more videos like this, tech tips and all that, and tutorials on this Bug soon, because this thing is going to the DMV very, very soon, before the end of the month, and getting its plates. So we've got a lot of middle maintenance things like that, you know, checking transmission levels and all that. So, alright, like I said, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Alright, bye.